So welcome to this interview, and you are going to be interviewing for one of our top clients. We more or less kind of trying to scale up our uh, teams and really dive into SAFe. So we need someone with SAFe experience. And we're also looking for someone that has experience with managing and dealing with multiple teams. And in the process of just having this conversation with you, we want to evaluate if you're going to be a good fit for our organization. So before we go ahead, I just wanted to please introduce yourself and tell us more about you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. And I have about 10 years of working experience that cut across marketing, sales, management, human resources, as well as IT. And I actually got my very first role as a Scrum Master with a company called Laham. They actually brought us in during the pandemic. And at this point, they wanted us to build an application that will enable all users to be able to utilize their perk system. The perk system was just one of those incentives they wanted to give to all their independent business owner. So we work on the application called Host, and the goal of the application was for every individual to log in their portal and be able to put in their account info and also have that connectivity with all the companies that they were in partnership with and all the stores as well. So we work on the application, and now I rounded up just last week and I'm here in your company. And the reason I'm here in your company is because I am all for continuous learning and I really want to continue my journey in the world of Agile. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So you did mention that you had training as a Scrum Master and you gone up your first role.
Yes.
What are what were some of those major challenges you encounter in your first role as a Scrum Master?
Man, I love that question. In every environment, right? We always anticipate challenges, but I would love to say I always see a challenge as a new way for me to learn. But I remember vividly during my very first role working as a Scrum Master, it was, first of all, so hard getting everyone to reason at the same level. Then I came to understand that I was dealing with people that comes from different background, different perspective, and coming in, I just needed to understand their value. So because I was focusing in understanding their value, that helped us a lot to be able to realize so much, and we're able to deliver well, great increment to our customer. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Now, what are some of the key features you were working on as a Scrum Master in your most recent project?
I appreciate that question. So, in my most recent project, we were working on application host, and one of the key features that we were really working on was the login portal. So, users should be able to have access to their login, because that is, if you are not logging, you cannot even benefit from the incentives. So that was one of the main features that we really dwell on.
All right, thank you very much. Now, looking at team performance, how many teams were you managing? Let's start from there.
I started off with one team, but before I actually closed out from the company, they gave me another team to manage.
Okay, perfect. Now, the team you started up with, what would you say, or where would you say you met them, and what were some of the major achievements you helped them accomplish during your period?
Thank you, Mr. Francis. When I came into my team, the first thing I realized was there was a lot of anti-pattern, right? When we talk about being agile and practicing safe, it doesn't really occur in the environment the way we say it in the book. So there were a lot of anti-pattern, and my team was really performing they were at a low performing level. So the first thing I came in was to observe to see what was going on. And when I realized that, I knew I had to put in a lot of work. And one of the first things I did was getting on a one-on-one basis with so many of them. And, the goal is to let them know the reason why they're even doing that project. And when they understand the value, they will be able to really realize much. First, they were not attending all the meetings, especially daily stand up. That's one of the first anti-pattern that I noticed. And secondly, during the retro, they will hardly speak up. Like you could hardly tell what was happening in that team. And then I realized there was not really much of a team collaboration. And we know when you put all of this into perspective, a team may not really perform well. So I had to step in and I brought in a lot of value. I helped them to understand the reason why they should never miss a daily stand up. If you miss out on a daily stand up, how do we get updates on what you're doing? And again, we need to respect everyone in the team. So, thank goodness they were able to reason that with me. And during the retro, I realized I had to really come in hard to introduce the ice breaker, which changed a lot of things in the team. And when I realized that this was working, we came up with a team agreement. And that team agreement really helped us to stick to our goals, and we were able to really deliver high incremental value to our customer at the end of every sprint. So I literally took that team from low performing to high performing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I love the fact that you spoke about a team agreement, which is something very important. Now, in kind of coming up with your team agreement, which I know sometimes might be challenging because you're trying to get everyone to agree on a common set of rules, right? Did you find out that everyone was okay with the team agreement? Did some people disagree with it? And those who did not really meet up with what was highlighted, what are some of the steps you took to hold them accountable?
Thank you, Mr. Francis, for that question. I'm glad you said with a team agreement, some people may be in for it, some may not be in for it. There's always something they call the buy-in process. And that is something that I had been dealing with for a long time. So I know what it means to say you can actually talk to someone before something happens, prepare them, prepare their mind. So I had observed and I noticed that there were some developers in the team that a lot of the developers look up to them. And what I did was to go up to them and some of the anti-pattern, I brought it up to them and I said, look at this. What do you think? If we were to look at this way, like just giving out suggestions and opinion, what would be your opinion on this? If we come out with a working agreement to make sure that everyone attend meetings so that we meet our goal, what do you think this may work? And they said yes. So I actually buy them in before the agreement. And when we came up during the time that we had to set up our team agreement, we didn't even waste time doing it. Honestly, everyone was just like, "Yeah, we're good, we're good, we're good," and then we adopted it. Thank you.
Wow, that's a good strategy. All right, now tell me a bit about sprint planning. How uh, did you ensure that your sprint planning were effective?
Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. You know, spring planning, we usually, first of all, hold our spring planning every Wednesdays. But one thing that we do before our spring planning is that we do our backlog refinement so that we do not have to spend so much time during our spring planning.
Mhm.
So, but during the spring planning, because most of the stories are already prioritized, they are already being assigned. Honestly speaking with you, in our environment, what we do during the spring planning, we get on board, and usually I, as a Scrum Master, I go to Jira, open up all the stories, and because PO is always there to give clarity if there needs clarity, one of the things we always do is to revisit what we had done during the refinement, and we look at how the stories were prioritized. Should we still maintain it? And if everyone says yes, we should maintain it, we maintain it. And we also look at how we size up our stories. Is it okay for everyone? Yes, it is okay. But more importantly, because we do not want to overcommit, we go individually to the stories that we assign to every person, and we open up the job, of course, the description of every story, and ask, do you understand it? Are you comfortable taking it? And once they give us that assurance, then we know, yes, we are great, we are good with this. So we basically do that for all the stories, and before they commit to it. And then also we do a vote of confidence, which if everyone say yes, we got this, and then we know as a team we can collaborate. But we always close out by letting everyone know, hey team, we are here as a team working together, we should be open to supporting everyone. And at the end of the day, I mean, we close out our sprint, everyone gets to work. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You did not mention about story pointing. What point did you do all your story pointing during your backlog refinement, or do you still do story pointing during sprint planning? And can you tell me a bit about your story pointing approach?
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. Like I said earlier, before spring planning, we do the backlog refinement. That is where we do all our story pointing. Our story pointing, we use the POCA planning to do that. And it's usually when we open up a stories, the developers, thank God for them, and they do a lot. They literally help us to know what story point they should assign to a story based on what they visualize or the time in the thing it can take to actually complete the story. So usually what we do is we'll give room for everyone to say what they think. What like what number do you think you can assign to this story? And based on what they say, we go with the majority. But we make sure that everyone is comfortable. If someone give a range that is way above maybe what others have given, we ask them, why do you think this story pointing should be 5 instead of 2 that everyone is saying? So maybe if they say, okay, I'm not so used to this story, or based on their reason why, some explanation can be added, but we make sure that before we are done, everyone is comfortable with the story points that have been assigned to any story.
All right, thank you very much. Now, looking at how we're able to stay focused in the sprint, sometimes we may have work that comes in the middle of the sprint because of some emergency, because of some bug, because of what happened. Have you run into any scenario where you had to kind of go out of your what you committed to during sprint planning, and how did you manage that?
Thank you, Dr. Francis. Yes, yes, happened so many times, but these that I can let me share with you. This is still very fresh in my mind. Actually, there was a project that project was already completed, and there was a developer in our team that actually participated in that project. So management there was a defect on that project, and management was starting out to see, okay, who are those that work on this project? And of course they realized that the only person in the company that was left was in our team. So they reached out and they were like, can you guys work on this? So I was actually in a Scrum meeting before that information came. And they said to me, oh, Loveline, we realized that one of your team members had worked on this project, and now there's a defect that needs to be corrected urgently, and we need to work on this. So when I received that, I was like, all right, let me talk to this developer to see if there is a possibility for us doing this. And immediately I got on a one-on-one chatting with him through Teams, and I asked him, are you aware of this project? They say you've done it before. And he said, oh yeah, management contacted me yesterday. And what I asked him was, are you comfortable doing this project right now, given that you have full capacity? And he said, let me see. So he said to me he was going to get back to me and stuff like that. I said, okay, no problem. At the end of the day, he spoke to the other tester, because he was a tester in the team. He spoke to the other tester and asked him if he will be able to do his own portion of the work, if they can work in collaboration. And the tester looked at it and said, yes, it is possible. So when I heard that that was really a possibility, I communicated with the PO, even though the PO was concerned that our work needed to be finished. What we did was we got everyone together and we said to ourselves, if there is a possibility for us to do this because management really needs it, let's see how we can commit to it. And if we cannot finish the work that we were committed to finish, then we can take a day during the weekend to work on it, since the customer also needed us urgently. But at the end of the day, the good news was it was really evaluated carefully, and everyone accepted that yes, they could do it. So we accepted the project, and then the other developers stepped up to take the work of this guy that was assigned to do it.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's look at retrospective. For me, I think one of the biggest value is on how we adopt learning as team and how it plays back. How have you been able to leverage retrospective to help your team rather than let's say improve?
Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. Usually, I set the pace, set the environment, and retro is really one of those events that I take so. In short, is I take it to heart. Just like you said, it is a perfect place for us to learn and continuously improve. I set the pace of the environment to make sure that we are all on one page. And secondly, my team knows, right? They know we are always on camera. There's always something I say to them. If I'm not seeing your beautiful face, I'm not talking. So they know during retro, all of us needs to be on camera because it just bring light in the environment. And I start up with an icebreaker. So I've introduced so many icebreakers until I'm even running out of some. But one of those icebreakers that really got us going was appreciating everyone. Can we just open up the call so that you get to appreciate anyone that helped you during this process of the sprint? And you will be amazed to hear what is coming out from everyone. It lightens up the environment, and from there we give room for everyone to discuss what are some of the things that you observed during the sprint that you feel like they should be addressed, and what are some that you think we did so well that you think it should be adopted. One of the things that guide us is a cheat sheet that I always prepare before I retro, 30 minutes before I retro, and they have the ability to fill this sheet out, and then we just read it out. And when they read it out, it's amazing how they are really proactive too. They want to learn, right? So we look at what have been going so well in the team and we adopt. And what was not going so well, we talked about it. If it needs us to do action statement, we do it so that we are able to work on it and it doesn't repeat itself. And then if we need to provide a resource to support what was not going well, we seek for it and make sure that we are continuously learning to improve. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's a good one. Now, talking about conflict management, I think one of the major issue or one of the key role of a Scrum Master is to look at how they can create a comfortable environment for every team member to effectively deliver their work. As a coach, what have you done in the past to enable that your team members are comfortable and they operate in an environment that is, can I say, free of conflict? Yeah, more or less.
Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. I love that. When you're given a team of people to work with, the first thing you should know is this: what can I do to make sure that they are in the right space and in the right mind to function appropriately? So I always look at that whenever I am assigned to work with a team. And when we are conversing as a team, I always bring this up. Team, one of the best values you can have is to have the right mental attitude and also be in the right space to work. But let's say if a conflict does occur, which of course it has in one of my projects. I think the last project that we're working on, there was actually a slight conflict that happened in one of my teams. A senior developer constantly shut down one of the developers who was trying to contribute to the project they were working on. And when I observed that, I realized this guy shut down and could not even express himself. So immediately after that incident, I had to it was during the daily stand up. I had to meet with a senior developer one on one. Appreciate him for the work he's been doing, but then letting him know that shutting down someone may never be the best way to go. It is good for all of us to give a voice, let people be able to express themselves. That shows some respect in the team. And the purpose of us doing this is because we need collaboration. So it is good for us as a team to know that as we are working towards a common goal, we need to collaborate, we need to respect each other, and everyone have the right to air out their mind when necessary. And then we should respect their opinion and work from there. I mean, that kind of something that happened in front of me, and it was easily resolved. The senior developer actually called up this younger developer and said to him, I didn't mean to shut you down, but I believe that we are here for a common goal. And I also got back to the other developer that was shut down, and I let him know, you know, I'm so glad that you didn't take it personal, but I'm glad that we are now on the same page and moving forward. So usually I set the environment uh, in a beautiful space for them to know that there is no right or wrong, but at the same time, we need to respect everybody.
My last question for you would be, how do you ensure that your team is ready for every sprint?
Thank you for that question. We check the capacity to make sure that we, number one, we have the right resources. And also, during our backlog refinement, we make sure that we prioritize every story, just getting ready to kick off the spring. But we take into consideration our capacity a lot, our resources.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have a question for me?
Yes, Dr. Francis. And I think when I was looking at your company, I realized that you guys made mention that you provide an environment for continuous growth. So, what are some of those growth aspects that you provide for your employees?
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's a great question. Yeah, with Agile, it's all about continuous learning. So one of the things we do frequently is to provide opportunity for our coaches, our team to take added value courses. We partner with Udemy Business, and you can plug in, you can learn as many courses that we as much as possible. We also give you the flexibility to create personal time for yourself to continuously improve, because if you work well, definitely will grow as a company.
All right. Thank you. And how soon are you guys looking to hiring someone?
As soon as yesterday, it's always about finding the right fit, right? So, if at all, I'm gonna put down my note. I'll recommend it to the hiring manager, and if they feel like, okay, you're a good fit, which I think you did a great job. You answered all my questions. The main feedback I'm gonna have for you would be the question I asked about story pointing, and you did said that you go through the story, which was good, but then you mentioned that you ask every team member to pick a story point and you go with majority, right? And you go with what majority kind of pick. Okay. So I'm gonna differ from that now. Why? Because the poker planning using the Fibonacci sequence is not meant to go with the majority. It's meant to pull a conversation. So the reason we pull up our poker board and let people choose, we want to understand the difference in ideology. Why is John picking a 5 when Mike is picking a 13? I said, Mike, why did you pick a 13? Oh, there's so much work to be done, so many unit testing, I don't think we can finish it. And I said, Mike, why do you pick a 5? Oh, I think most of the testing that John was talking about, we already ran all of them during the last spring in the related story. So what is left on this story is just about two-level testing, and we are done to receive. And then Max said, oh, wow, I didn't understand that. Then, okay, Mike, now you now get more clarity. Do you think a 5 is okay? Yeah, I'm okay. So the goal is to get everyone to a common idea rather than going for the majority. Why? Because if you go with the majority, if my wasn't selected, I probably would not really feel okay, right? So
Yeah.
the goal is to go with have them agree. But in most of the cases, which if you facilitate where everyone will agree, but in most of the cases, if they do not really agree what you want to do, you might want to go somewhere around the average and say, okay, team, since almost the average we're around this, can we all agree that we go with this? But you will not really have so many situations like that.
Thank you so much for your feedback. I appreciate that.
All right, perfect. And I think also, and you're telling me about yourself, like you were so detailed, which is good though. I love the fact that you master it. But one of the stuff I also love is your energy. You have really good energy, and despite the fact that some of your answers were long a bit, it still kept me awake. So I would say, oh, that's a plus. So that's gonna be my feedback for you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, sir.
All right, do you have another question?
No, we're good.
All right, so I'm hoping that we get some time to work together as a team, and you definitely hear back from our team. Thank you very much.
It'd be an honor.